and they brew black tea.
Do you know what all these things have in common? They're fun. They make me think. They aren't always easy. They let me spend time with you. They're literacy. I know, literacy is one awfully big word for a little learner, but it's an important one. Nancy Houston from the Green River Regional Educational Cooperative explains what literacy means.
It's learning to communicate with the world. You communicate with the world and you understand what the world is trying to tell you too. So it's learning to read and write and learning to speak and listen and learning to interpret what other people say. Literacy can be about a picture. It doesn't have to be about words. Text can be a picture or a video. It can be a lot of different things.
Mrs. Houston brings up an important point. Little learners are full of great ideas. Unfortunately, if we don't learn to speak and listen, we will never be able to share them with you. Teaching me to communicate my ideas is one of those most natural things you can do. Want to hear the secret? Talk to me and listen when I talk to you. It's as simple as that. Dr. Julia Roberts from the Center for Gifted Studies will tell you why this is important.
I think the most important thing about encouraging children in school and at home to be high-level thinkers is to interact with them. That doesn't happen when kids are watching a video. It happens when you interact with another human being, that there's give and take. You're talking, you're encouraging, you're having kids describe for you what they're experiencing, what they're seeing. You're having children compare. How are these two things like each other? How are they different from each other? What's something that you might plan to do and set goals? And all of those activities are so very important for modeling and encouraging children to be high-level thinkers. And so thinking critically is something that we want to start developing as soon as we can talk to children.
When you listen to me, I know you think my ideas are important. If you write down my words when we are working together, it helps me understand that speaking and writing are connected. After all, my voice will someday become my writing, which brings me to another important point. Beth Schaefer, a preschool consultant for the Warren County Public Schools, will explain how your words impact my language.
Whether it be negative or positive. If we are very short with our children, we're going to hear their short words. If you want to know what you look like as a parent or a teacher, let your child play that role. You will hear your words come out of their mouth. You'll see your actions being reenacted by them.
I'm counting on you to help me learn to communicate. Mrs. Nancy Houston is going to share some advice on how to help us learn new words.
Children can't see what's going on in your head. So you have to sometimes say, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm doing. I think that it's important to have conversations with your children. It's important to have those kinds of conversations that are back and forth, and they're not just one-sided.
Mrs. Bemis was watching as this little boy worked to design a model of a skyscraper with cups. Listen as he repeats a new word he hears.
Let me see what happens when you test it.
Let me test the leg.
Okay.
Did you hear that? The little boy copied Mrs. Bemis's word, test, when he was talking. Like I said before, we're always listening to you, waiting to learn new words to help us share our ideas. Another really fun way for us to explore learning language is through play. Nancy Houston is going to share a little bit about how we can learn new words just by playing. I like the sound of that.
I often say when I go into a preschool classroom, there's almost always a dramatic play center, and usually it involves a kitchen. Well, so the students are able to authentically become the mom and the dad and the baby and the aunt or the uncle in the kitchen, or the cook. But if you change that dramatic play experience to an airport, then they're going to learn the language of turbulence, and you've got the pilot, you've got the air traffic controller, and all of those things through play, invite children to use the language of those locations.
It probably comes as no surprise that reading is an important part of helping children learn language.
We have a lot of children that come to school without the language to understand the content. And it's critical that we close that gap. And the way we do that is to give them the language. And the way we give them the language is we read to them.
If we love a book, there's a good chance we're going to ask you to read it 100 times. That's okay. That just means you're doing your job. You're teaching me to love reading. Nancy Houston shares a few tips on reading books with kids.
First of all, you should build for them an interest in the book. Show them the cover, talk to them about the title, ask them what they think it's going to be about, make some predictions. And then as you read the book, the first time you read the book, just read the book. You might stop if there's a word you know your child doesn't understand and just define it for them. Then the second time you read the book, then you do want to read books more than once. The books that children love, they want to hear them over and over and over again. And they learn sentence structure, language patterns, all of those from those familiar books that they hear. But the second time you want to maybe ask them some questions as you read. Ask them rich questions about what do you think is going to happen and why do you think this character did that? And what would happen if this didn't happen in the story? What do you think might happen after the story? Give them chances to think about other possibilities. And then read the story again the next day. And ask them different kinds of stories. Ask them to finish it's a great opportunity for them to hear how words are put together. Rhyming books are great for teaching children phonemic awareness and listening to language. Picture books with no words and just having them tell the story are great opportunities for children. Giving them lots of opportunities in books that have numbers and counting and alphabet. All of those things just gives children more exposure to the things that they're going to need when they go to school or when they start to actually read themselves. So they have to have these, if you would call them pre-literacy experiences, they need those in order to be able to read and comprehend once they get to school.
These language and reading ideas are important, but do you want to know the most important reason to read to me, to talk to me, to listen to my thinking, and to teach me to listen to you? It lets me know you care about me, that you believe in me, and that my ideas are important enough to share. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. Dr. Seuss.